Hey everybody, welcome, welcome.
Hello,
Hello,
hello.
hello.
Hello, everybody.
Hey
Hey,
Tim,
hey,
long time no
Sue
welcome.
see.
is on.
Hello,
Hi,
Sue.
Sue.
Hey,
Hey,
I
Pam.
miss
hi,
you.
Hello, Mavis.
Buddy.
hi.
Renee, Jenny, Sophie,
Hello.
Marla,
Ellen, hi
welcome.
Helen.
Okay, so we're gonna dive straight in, I think. So welcome, everyone. Let me just change my view here. See you all. We've got a really exciting night planned, and we're so thrilled to have Elizabeth Cooper back with us. Isn't it
She's
great
in the
to see you?
house. Yay!
I'm so happy to be here. I've missed you guys. It's good to be back.
We've missed you too.
Yeah, we sure have. We sure have. So it's great. And tonight we're just kind of continuing on with another quite practical session. So in a little bit, we're going to kind of invite Ben Oliver on, who's going to do some visual thinking and some kind of practical exercises with us. I think Rachel's on.
Yeah, I'm trying to go through and mute some people, sorry. If everyone could just try and mute so we can have a clear recording, that would be awesome.
There you go. Sounds like it's done the job. There you go. I think a couple of more people waiting to come in as well. There you go.
Okay.
Yes, so welcome everyone. And we just really love hosting and facilitating what the Father is doing in creativity, across the earth and in the heavens, and just engaging with the very different things that God's having each of us manifest. It's such a thrill, and we just thought what we'd do tonight was just kind of have a little bit of a catch up, and then we'll do our usual sort of ascension together where we enjoy our union in Christ, because that is where our inspiration comes from, is from him being revealed to us. That is the most beautiful thing. So wherever, if this is your first time on tonight and you've never been with us, you don't have to be a professional creative. You don't have to be someone who perhaps knows yet what they want to do in creativity. The idea of creative space community is just that, to make a space where we enjoy our union together and we see what gets established from us and from the community to kind of together. So it's really fun. It's a journey, and what we love to do is bring people on to share that journey, share what was going on with them. So it's not just about us kind of saying, look, what we're doing, all these things. Is actually a space where we want to see what God's doing beyond us and here. So it's going to be so great to have Ben Oliver on tonight. But first of all, I thought it'll be really fun to kind of catch up with Tanya, and I don't know if we've got Annette on, maybe Annette's on, Rachel. Maybe we could bring her on.
No.
I think I saw her on earlier.
Well,
Yes, there she is. Annie. Shall I ask her to
I never asked you guys if it's okay to play it. That
There
sounds.
she is.
Hi.
Hi, Annie.
hi, how are you?
Good. How are
Yeah.
you?
And Annie didn't know I was going to do that to her.
No.
No.
She would be part of this group.
You always have to be
got to be
prepared.
prepared to go with the flow.
Okay, just swimming.
Yeah, I just thought we'd have a little bit of a catch up about Joy Fest USA, because it was an amazing time, wasn't it, Rachel? What do you want to say about it first? You
Oh my
go.
gosh. Oh my gosh. It was epic. It was just like off the charts. We couldn't have asked for a better Joy Fest event. Our first in America. We love America, and it was great to bring the gospel and the grace and creative space to America in Fort Mill, South Carolina, sorry. And it was just, God rocked up, didn't he? His presence was so beautiful, and everyone, dressed up. We had a little bit of a dress at night, and the lights were going. It didn't distract from the presence or the glory. It was just a beautiful merging of the joy and ascension and what Papa wanted to do in people's lives, healing and transformation. And just to get to see other people face to face as well. I think that was the beauty of people from creative space, and obviously our Patreon calls as well. So it was beautiful. It was such a wonderful time.
Yeah. Got anything you want to add, Rob, before we kind of start to talk about the art?
Not well. It was so amazing. I think for me, the most amazing thing was that we have such an amazing community here in Wales, and the Tribe and Company Burning Hearts and Creative Space. Is that when we got over to America, there was no transition needed. It was exactly the same family, exactly the same tribe. There was no effort. It was just a seamless. It was just incredible, wasn't it? It was just like, wow, everyone's just exactly the same as us. I didn't think there were that many nutters around, but obviously they've migrated to the States as well as over here. But no, seriously, it was just that family, that feeling of family and belonging together.
Yeah,
it was just incredible. It was just an amazing experience, wasn't it? It was just really, really good.
It was.
Yeah, it was just, I think the combination between the joy and the creativity and just people's hearts, it was like everyone brings something that kind of adds to the whole picture of what God's doing, and it's a tangible presence that you feel that gathers in its formation when like people are together just really enjoying him. And it was just so light and fun. But we quite a few of you know that we decided to put a exhibition on, because the building that we the venue that we had Joyfest in, it had this beautiful lobby area, which was just the most fantastic space for an art exhibition. And what had actually happened in the Creative Space Conference when we had Elizabeth over to Wales was I just had felt like the Lord said to invite the artists to bring their work and put it up in the chapel. And of course, Annie was one of our Creative Space community that kind of did that and brought a loads of her wonderful, amazing art over to Wales. And then we're inundated basically, and the chapel was just filled, and we've taken some of it down because there was just literally so much. But we had basically, from having a few pictures there, we had this art explosion.
We did.
And the Lord really spoke to me about that. And and I felt, and I spoke to Rachel about maybe kind of could Creative Space sort of contribute towards Joyfest, and it kind of happened again, really. You kind of think, oh, we'll just put a few pictures up, and we'll just see if there's some artists that want to kind of be a part of it. I don't know if there's any other artists. Maybe put your hand up if you were part of the exhibition, because I don't know who else is on, because there's so many people.
Put in the chat if you want to.
Yeah, is Maya maybe on? Is she? Or yeah, but there was just, again, it happened, this kind of art explosion. And what we did was we had some of the music, we had put album covers up, and we had these little tags so that people could kind of listen to the music. We had poetry. Iris kind of gave us some of her poetry with her with the art that she does on the back of it, because she does AI art. And so I wanted to show you a quick little video just so you can see and get a bit of a taste.
I just say before you do that Janine and Tanya pulled this together within about 3 to 4 weeks before the event. They worked non-stop, and like Janine said, it started with like, oh, let's just put some of the creative space art on the wall and the poetry and this and that. And honestly, when you see this video now, what they pulled off in a couple of weeks was incredible.
Yeah.
It really made that entrance way just a beautiful start to the Joy Fest. So thank you guys, really appreciated that.
I just want, it was such a pleasure, and it was so amazing working with Tanya. She's so awesome, and your art, Tanya, is just, you know, obviously there's one of your pieces on the back. You know, it just carries such a frequency. But I want to talk about that a little bit more. But I wanted you guys to see it first before we kind of delve in, because just so you can get a bit more of a picture. So let me have a go at sharing my screen.
You got this, Janine.
I've got this.
You got this.
Hey everybody, this is me and Tanya. Hey! We are here at Joy Fest in the USA, and we just wanted to show you, especially those of you that are part of our creative space community, the amazing exhibition that me and Tanya have worked on.
That was fantastic.
Yeah, all the amazing art. So this is our frequency wall exhibition. So we've got
Justin! Look at this, we've got Justin up on the wall.
Yeah, here is some of Tanya's amazing art. Yeah. And we've got some of Joe Martin's poetry here. We've got Deborah's music. So we're going to actually put an NFC tag on there so that you can actually listen to the music. Yeah. Look at this amazing art. My father-in-law's.
That's beautiful.
Got
some more Joe. We have some Joe Martins on this wall,
which they absolutely look epic. We've got some of the authors as well.
Yeah.
I'm not very great at camera work, but come round with us and we'll try to show you. We'll do a little bit of a spin so that you can get a little bit of an idea of the venue. So this is our beautiful place. Hey Godfrey, we've got some of your music here as well. So this is a beautiful rubber duck tapestry that was made by Marcy from our Creative Space group.
Yeah.
We have got this amazing picture which Tanya kind of put on metal. Maybe I should change it round. I should change the angle round like that. Sorry guys.
You can't rotate?
We can't rotate it live. We should have thought about this. Yep. So that's an amazing picture that was taken when Rachel got hit by some angels.
There's some whack on that.
And it's on metal. And then look at this amazing art.
That's Mia's.
This is Mia's art.
Yep.
Look at that lion. We've actually been putting some of the art on the stage as we worship. We've got some poetry here. Elizabeth Cooper's poetry, and we've got some NFC tags so that people can hear her voice. This is some of Joe Martin's poetry, one of Justin's pictures.
That's Joe. We need that one though.
And all of this art is for sale and people are buying it, so this is cool. Isn't this cool? Some more of Joe Martin's pieces. Hey Iris, your poems are up on the wall as well. Come with me.
Yep. Let's do this.
Guys, it's so much fun here. John Scotland's just done the whole teddy bear picnic and 1,000 teddy bears have gone. Some more of Joe's
work.
Yeah.
Yep.
Kylie
Anderson. Yeah. This is one of my pieces.
Aren't these amazing, guys?
Yeah. More from Elizabeth. Another Joe. And then Justin. Okay. That's Rachel Whelan. This is Justin's book. That's from Rachel.
And then we've got over here, we've got some of Claire Bell's amazing artwork and one picture from South Africa as well. So although you guys aren't at Joy Fest, you kind of are. So, and look at this amazing stand. So this is Anne from Germany.
Isn't that amazing? It's fantastic.
all this amazing art. And then we've got some more of Tanya's work. Look how gorgeous Tanya's work is, guys. And then we've got this wall where we've got all the music. So Godfrey, we've got you here, and people can put their phones to this tag and they hear, "Who are you? Who are you?" And then we've got Andrew Moxon, we've got Rob Townley, we've got Claire's Bell's amazing CD here, we've got Jennifer Ann Arrington and Danielle. So it's really cool, guys. There's some loads more. We had so many people give us stuff that we've had to kind of rotate it. So if you're not seeing your stuff, it's because we're going to be putting more out. Yeah. I'm gonna stop it there because it goes on for quite a while.
We were having fun.
We were having so much fun, but honestly, there was loads more. There was another 2 minutes of that video.
Oh, wow.
Because there was just so much, and in amongst all that we had all the music as well, so that people could hear the music. With the authors, we had some of their quotes from their books, and we had them actually speaking the words out so that people could hear the author's voice and they could hear the frequency of what they'd released. And yeah, it was so much fun kind of putting it together. We had so much and we had so little time to do it that we didn't actually get everyone's up that we could. So it was a bit of a little bit of a trial run of what we kind of want to do in the future, really. But it's just to give you a little bit of a taste of it and what God's really doing. Just before I move on and share a little bit more about something that the Lord showed me about that, I just wanted to see, Anne, do you want to say anything about your art? One of your pieces was right at the front, the beautiful Throne Room Eye one, wasn't it, for the whole conference?
Yeah, that was great to have this the picture therefore to everybody can see the idea. This is the MEM multi-located beyond. So, and this is was such an honor to be there on the conference and to meet all the people and to have all the reactions to the to my art, because the first time I showed it, it was in Wales, when I have been there to the conference there, and then Joyfest now was the next big one. And so many people was so overwhelmed and was hit by the art, and I didn't know that before. I hoped it and I prayed for it, but it was so amazing to get connected to the people and their reactions. Yeah, it was very good. And now the multi-located beyond is now in the world, because one woman bought it, and it was a misunderstanding. She wanted to have Tanya's picture, and then I sent it to her, and now it is really multi-located, because now it is in US in her home, and now it is looking for another home. So we'll see what God's next steps is with this picture. So it makes his name all the honor. It's a bit fun.
Oh.
Yeah, it was interesting, wasn't it? Because that you've called that multi-location, and it's ended up go to different locations.
Yeah, multi-location. Yeah.
But it's been really interesting, because me and Tanya have been kind of talking about there was so much energy and joy on doing the art and bringing it together, that one of the things that me and Tanya are kind of talking about for next year, and an evolution really of creative space, is basically putting the frequency wall exhibition online, so that we can maybe change it every 6 or 4 months, we're not sure, and kind of have artists share their work. But not only that, he's done this twice to me now with the art, And I don't know how God speaks with you guys, but with me, it's like I have this one idea, this seed thought from him that I know, okay, I've just got to put my energy into this. I don't quite know why. I don't know what it's going to evolve in, but I'm just going to trust you and go with it. And what happens is he just goes boom. And he did that at the Creative Space Conference, and he did that again in America. And me and Tanya both had the same idea of this needs to actually go online now, and we need this art to be able to be facilitated to go all over the world. Because one of the blockages, there's a few blockages for artists, definitely with the music scene there's quite a few, but one of the things with art is that if you send it to different countries, there's costs sometimes, very high postage and packaging. And sometimes, like with the UK, if we receive anything from America, we have to pay some kind of duty. So one of the things that we're looking into next year is how can we facilitate this art traveling across the world through the community and all help each other and actually get it wider than our sphere of influence, by and actually share in deeper ways what the art is actually about, because I know, like Annie, you're the guy who printed your work out said, just this guy in America, that there was a frequency on it, didn't he? What did he say to you? Do you remember?
Yeah. Well, when I went to take the prints, the guy who printed them and packed them, he said to me, "There's a lot of frequency on your art. What is it?" And asked about it. And I was hit. I was, oh, wow, good. You can feel it, just like anybody can feel it. He said it's so different to the others, and it's a big printing company. And so I was very overwhelmed. So,
Oh,
so awesome.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, and I just kind of saw when we did that exhibition, this art going all over the world, but the art opened up the way somehow for music and other stuff to go. It was like as if the Lord's kind of somehow started what he's doing within our community with the artists. And I kind of have said, when I first started this, I thought there was going to be like loads of music people. And I've just learned, to kind of let God do whatever he wants to do. And, for some reason, the art is the first tangible thing. And I think the Lord showed me the reason for that is that because, this is a time where, I don't want to call it the mystic movement per se, but I think that he's opening up the realm of us bringing vision from the unseen and making it something that is visible. And art is the quickest way to do that. And we've learned, through Tanya speaking to us, that art sings. There's so much kind of behind that. But what the Lord showed me is that he's going to actually do this with books. He's going to do this with music. He's going to be doing this with businesses, entrepreneur stuff, basically every form of creativity. Oils, I've been speaking to people about, people who'd make oils. There's just so much that is going to be coming. And so it's just a really exciting time. And thank you so much to everyone that kind of did get back to me and say that they wanted to be part of the Frequency Wall exhibition, because I know many of you didn't know quite what you were being part of. And to be honest, sometimes I don't either. We just kind of go with it and something amazing kind of happens. So I just wanted to say thank you. And off the back of that, the Lord showed me that probably in between Creative Space, I'm going to do a separate kind of call just for the musicians and people and the worshippers. It's like as if we have to have a bit of a different space, because like with music, it's quite technical, or it might not be relevant for everyone. But I kind of sense that the Lord wants to open up something on music and actually open up doors which are blocking us from getting our music kind of going all over the world, because it's really hard if you put your stuff on Spotify or different platforms. You don't end up owning your own material. You can't get revenue from it. You don't even own your own copyright. Like I actually don't own the copyright to any of my music, any of the songs, because I have to use a publisher to put it out on Spotify and Apple Music. So if I put anything on YouTube, it happened this Sunday. I sang a song, and the videos got flagged because even though I'm singing my own song that I've written, there's a publisher that actually owns the copyright to it. So I just saw that, that somehow us getting together within this community where we're engaging God's heart, where we're engaging the future, where we're engaging the spirit of life, that actually new things are going to happen. And like the Lord's just waiting just to go boom, it really is. That is what is happening right now, and we're all a part of that. We're all a part of this time where God is co-creating. That's why I'm so thankful for my Patreons. My Patreons are the ones that help me kind of release music, and the people that buy CDs at conferences and everything. So but this is the thing, is things are changing, and we get to kind of be a part of what God's doing now. So all that to say, thank you so much. You guys are awesome, and I really love what God's doing within this community. It is special, so if you've got anything to add, Elizabeth, before we can or Tanya, actually, before we
yeah, you said basically everything that we spoke about, and I think that it is important to realize that it seems like at this time there's this higher consciousness that's opening up around creativity, and everyone's talking about it right now, creativity and art and your authentic creative self. Like there's a wider, higher realm that's opened up right now. So tapping into it right now, even if you feel like you might be struggling with a draw from this, like this community is creating something where you can draw from it. And I agree with what you were saying about the art during the conference. Just the engagement, for me, it was so interesting to see how people were feeling the art. They weren't just looking at the art and it's beautiful. There was this feeling, there was an engagement. So I'm excited to see where this is going and excited to be a part of it. So thank you for letting me build your wall with you.
I couldn't have done it without you, that is for sure.
And also the way that we engage with it, because I was engaging with the art like in those 4 weeks, you were as well. So leading up to it, like when I opened up the box for Joe Martin's stuff, like I was like whacked all of a sudden. Then I would open the photo of Rachie and then it will be all over again. So there's this big build-up around the art. But interesting what you were saying about the visual art opening up right now is that we listen to music when we create. Even though the visual might lead it right now for the music also led it for the visual to open up. So there's absolutely this co-creating, co-playing enjoyment between all the arts, and it's beautiful to observe how we're moving into that.
That's great.
Yeah. I'm just going to release something quickly, and then Elizabeth's just going to take us into something. I'll pass it over to you, Elizabeth, but I just want us to catch something right now in the spirit, and not, I really feel like there's something that is open right now. So and it's not really about us, it's about what God's doing in the earth. And that's the thing, is that we're all a part of that, whether you're just cheering other people on, but it's about the voice of Yahweh coming through his people. And I know he's coming through in such great measure, to those who are aware and those who are not aware of who he is. It's coming through. But Father, we just thank you for what you're doing in the earth right now, Lord. And we're just so so amazed, Father, at the realm of wonder that is just opening up, Lord. And I just ask, Father, as we engage, Lord, tonight, Father, that you would just take us deeper into that place of wonder and the revelation, Father, of who you are. I thank you that is what is happening, Lord, that there's such whack, there's such life, there's such joy in the revelation that comes from a piece of art which has been entangled with our hearts and your heart in that way, Lord. There is life on it. There is something otherworldly on it, you know, just as Anne's printer said, you know, what is this frequency on this, Lord? I thank you, Lord, that you want to release that, Lord. You want art in people's homes. You want music. You want that beauty just to keep on building and being expressed, Lord. And I thank you that that wave is building and that we're all a part of it. And I thank you, Father, that each one of us, you know, wherever we're at in that journey with you, Father, I thank you, Lord, that it's an increasing place in your heart. Nothing that you do does not grow, does not increase in its capacity, in its measure. Wow. And so, Father, I thank you, Lord, that there's a fullness coming. Lord, that we're in it right now. We're in it right now. Wow. Thank you for every heart on here tonight. All those, Lord, that be watching the replay. We just love what you're doing. Thank you for that explosion of life that's happening right now. Thank you, Father. Wow.
So I just want to tag on to that, actually, and this will lead us into our ascension as well. I love how this is all being woven together. And Tanya, what you said about, you know, we're as artists listening to the music, and then so the music is going but first, but then the art's going first, but then so what I'm seeing is, and what I've actually seen for a long time, is that the boxes of compartmentalization are being blown apart, right? That there is no separation, but there is distinction, right? So we grapple with these things, but we come into the place of no separation, of echad, right? That Hebrew word that is like a cluster of grapes. There are single grapes in a cluster, but there's one cluster. So we're coming into this place of new, higher understanding and consciousness of oneness as creatives and as creative expressions in the earth. That, you know, this piece might take on this role right here, but that there's no disconnection from every other expression that's happening. And so I just want to sort of bring this to the forefront as this idea of coherence within the creative arts, as we're actually moving into right now. We're going to do a few minutes of heart coherence, breath work, meditation, ascension, right? So it's all kind of going together. And as we are in this world, as we are, that we are more being than doing, right? And as we are in this place of coherence, which everything is in agreement, and this place of the heart, what is the heart? The Hebraic truth about the heart is that the mind is actually not separate. The will and the emotions, they're not separate. So as we move into this, and I'm going to start some music here and give some sort of instruction as we go. But we're coming into the place of we are becoming the manifestation of what we see happening in the earth, in the creative arts as creatives, that we are completely in coherence and all in agreement. Mind, heart, emotions, will, that they are not separate, but they are distinct, right? So as we do this breath work, and there's science behind it, and we're not going to get into all that, but just know that this type of breath work, when we engage with the breath of life, it is bringing into coherence all of those parts that are distinct about us, but they are meant to be one. Okay. So as we do this, some quick instructions. We're going to breathe through our nose. We're going to belly breathe, right? Breathe through your nose into your belly. Exhale out through the nose. Nice and easy, effortless. We're going to breathe in for 5 seconds, out for 5 seconds, and I'll cue you. The music will also cue you. You'll hear, as we get about a minute in, you'll hear a heartbeat. Inhale. You'll hear a heartbeat at the top. Exhale. We're not holding at the top. We're not holding at the bottom. There's this effortless oneness of breath. Okay. So we'll go ahead, just close your eyes. I'll lead you through this. And you can go into become aware of all of the realms of eternity in your heart as we do this, right? That it's all in you. I'm in the universe and the universe is in me. I'm in the heart of the Lord and the heart of the Lord is in me. And we are not separate. So I'll go ahead and start this up. And Janine, you can give me a thumbs up, or somebody give me a thumbs up. Make sure the sound is good. We can hear. Okay, great. So just close your eyes. Relax the muscles in your face, your forehead, cheeks, jaw. Just kind of go all the way down. Release all the tension in your neck, your shoulders, and just breathe naturally. Just become aware of your natural breath, the breath of life in you every second of every day. Just breathe. Breathe in the space of wonder and awe. You can put your hand on your heart and inhale 2, 3. Exhale 2, 3. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Inhale, exhale, in, stay with the breath as you hear those heartbeats. Let it cue you out. Connect with eternity in your heart. The wide open space. See the wide open space of your heart. Does it look like the cosmos? Does it look like the endless ocean? Is it a field, never ending, green with flowers? Breathe. Feel the wide open space that you carry within your heart, all the realms of heaven, the heart of heaven, the beauty, the wonder. Breathe. Connect with our hearts, because our hearts are the way that we interface with all of heaven. It is the space that holds the enormity, the endlessness of eternity. Breathe. In through the nose, out, effortless breath, abundance of breath, life. Breathe. Breath, the light of the Lord that reaches all the depths and all the parts of us, the light that fills everything we are and beyond. It's shooting out of our hands, out of our feet, out of our mouths, in the words that we speak, out of our eyes. The light of Yahweh in the breath. Breathe. Let it go. Breathe. Let it go. In. Let it go. A few more breaths. All of heaven in your heart. Explore that space, that never-ending space of your heart. And as we move forward, we transition. Stay in that space of heart connect. You connected to your heart, connected to his heart, connected to every part here. Stay in this space as we transition, that there is no separation, but there is distinction.
Wow. So beautiful. So we're going to bring Ben West on now, who is part of our creative space community. And I sorry that I called him Ben Oliver earlier. So, he's called Oliver West on some of some of your messages. My brain put the two names together, so I'm so sorry, Ben.
You're muted, Oliver, Ben. I'm doing it now.
I need to unmute. There we go.
There you are.
Don't worry at all. Don't worry at all. My goodness. Oh, wow.
Well, I just wanted to introduce you to everyone. So you live in Cornwall, such a beautiful part of the UK. And Ben is an artist himself, and he supports visual thinking, and he's going to do some practical stuff with us tonight. So it's going to be, you'll need a pen and you'll need a piece of paper to hand. And he's all about imagination and us engaging imagination. So a part of what this is going to be is about us learning to engage that realm of imagination, which we know is part of God. Like God is the Imagineer, and that is a whole part of, you know, a space of him that he's put within us to kind of access. And so I'm really excited, and it's great to have you with us. So just go for it.
Well, I am so privileged. Thank you. And very excited. And as probably quite a few creative thinkers out there, I've got lots of thoughts all colliding at once. And so bear with me as I probably dart about a little bit, because there's so many things that I've been excited to bring to a community that I know I have an affinity with, because when you're creative and you're aware of your creativity being a very important part of you from the point of view of being able to function, that there are spaces that happen that don't necessarily make sense. We're also unique. And I think my journey into being creative was because from a very early age, I was aware of spaces that I couldn't make sense of. Maybe an oversensitivity in some areas, a hypersensitivity in some areas. And early on in my life, I'm old enough for dyslexia to not have been that easy to pinpoint or to diagnose. But because I was so off to one side, they needed to give me something as a label pretty early on. So by the time I was 8, that was a diagnosis that came my way. and dyslexia. And one of the things that I really struggled with was not being able to see that specific aspect of me happening in anyone else, in my peers or anywhere else I traverse through life. And that felt quite disconcerting until I got to art school and realized that there were loads of out there people who actually embraced the being out there, needed to be out there to feel, to know where we really are. Some of us, I think, need to feel our edges. And I think that a lot of us go into being creative because we need to feel, we need to know. So what do I think about that? It's almost as though there's this internal conversation going on. And I'm a visual artist, I'm a landscape artist. I just need to go into the landscape and be affected. And that was long before I really found that my walk in the Lord in heavenly places was just a massive step up from something that I'd been doing through necessity, really, from a very early age. And so doing so horribly at school, really struggling with exams and things like that, I was amazed, and Father made the way for me, the unique way for me to get on a degree course without qualifications. I haven't got enough time to share about that now because it's quite a long story, but just to encourage people that it really is with God, all things are possible. And so suddenly there I was on a degree course, and I needed to know. I wanted some answers as to why did I feel so unique? So anyway, I got into working in schools very quickly. That was I went back to the place that actually I found really difficult. And I started offering workshops where I noticed that a lot of learners needed to feel their edges too. And so I did these activities where we just, in a sense, looked at it from the point of view of how can we partner with what we've got, with the uniqueness of what we've been given. And how can we put that to really good use, even if no one else sees it or agrees with it or can mark it? I mean, that's the frustrating thing, isn't it? It's the arts. Wow, how do you grade that? Does somebody qualify that? So there we were, sort of working our way through, but not really knowing how am I doing. And so being informed by our senses was one of the things that I love doing, drawing activities. And one of the activities I got individuals to do was close their eyes and draw a landscape but made up of the sounds that they heard. And one of the times that I practiced that for myself, I thought, I wonder whether I can extend my hearing further than my normal filters would allow. And so I sat in this field with a load of bunny rabbits way off down in the distance. And I just thought, well, I think I've just got to clock my way through all these different sounds to acknowledge that they're there, recognize that they're there, I've heard them, and then move on through. And it took about half an hour, but by about half an hour's time, I could actually hear the teeth, the chomping of these rabbits chewing away on some grass, a long way away. That's not normal, but I'd been able to train my senses. In a sense, I'd been able to still the noise. And so where does this go? So I then found that in definitely Holy Spirit days, for me, I just said, look, I want to be there where I'm your drain pipe, Lord, just drain pipe me, And so I'd just get into a classroom with a bunch of kids and I'd just start feeling, oh my gosh, there's another one of me. I wasn't alone, but it took me as an adult to realize that actually there are some really misunderstood kids. And actually, one day it was going to happen. they were going to get misunderstood. And on the very day that they needed to stay in the class, they were going to get kicked out. I was the visiting resident artist for the day, and it was a big day, and we were going to make some lovely art and what have you. And I just thought, what am I going to do? And so I folded, and this is what I'd like you all to do with me if you'd like to join me. I found myself, and I really believe, just in partnership with the Lord, that I needed to fold my sheet of paper in half, and in half again, and in half again. You're folding it down 4 times, down to about credit card size, so that when you open it up again, you'll have 16 boxes. Now, my logic was thinking, well, why am I doing this? And that was that conversation, Lord, what's going on here? Because I was just about to be introduced. I hadn't even been introduced yet. The teachers were at the front of the class, and I could see 3 kids mucking about. They were definitely knew where they needed to sit in the back of the corner of the class so that teachers couldn't get at them. No one could get at them, and I knew I needed to get something to them. And so I thought, well, if I make a paper airplane, it's going to be a bit, rude. So I thought maybe that's what it is. But anyway, I folded the grid, I threw the grid across the room, and just found myself saying, draw what you hear and think. And these kids who normally didn't engage, the teachers came up at the end of the day and just said, that was amazing. They were so engaged, and what they got down on their grid showed us a whole load of stuff that we didn't know about that learner in our class. And I thought, okay, thanks, Father. I guess this is mandate here. Some kind of blueprint's going to happen. So that was 30 years ago. And I've been walking around saying, fold your sheet of paper for 30 years in all kinds of situations with all kinds of people who may or may not know about their creativity yet and their creative need. I think a lot of us actually get into being creative because there's so many other subjects that just don't allow us to be creative in school. So I think some of us navigate towards it very obviously into the arts. And I don't think we need to be so, like you opened it today, you don't have to be an artist to be here, to be a creative individual. I mean, that's not what this is about. This is about, actually, we are all creators, co-creators, and learning to be co-creators is really, really important. So the journey that happened with the grid is something that I'd really like to share with you today, just to get this ball rolling with you. Who knows, the grid might be useful for you. They say, I haven't got a grid for that. Have you heard that phrase?
Yeah.
Well, we have now. And, and the reality is, I absolutely believe that I've had so much revelation happen on my grids. I wake in the morning, and for about 30 seconds, sometimes, anybody relate to this? I feel clever. I get that genius moment until I dissuade myself. But actually, until that time, I know there's something bigger than my normal thinking process, or purer, or richer, or something. And then I get in the way. And so what I found is I need to have my grid by my bed. I need to be getting that thought down onto my grid really fast before I get in the way, or time, or life, or whatever else. So what I'm encouraging you to do is to think of making your mark and not deciding the value of it. Don't even start getting logic involved. What I love about the grid is that each of these spaces are equally sized. They're not very big. You don't have to be a good drawer. You don't know what their relevance is. We don't even know what order they're going to go in. But here's a space that you can actually just affordably start filling. So just as a quick question for you guys, when you were in that beautiful ascension just now, is there anything that you could just practice right now to return to right now? Can you just be stood there in the spirit right now? And what are you seeing? And if so, don't worry about what it looks like, because it's just a trigger image. And if you can't find an image, just put a trigger word. But can you put something down into your grid? LUT, I call these gridlets. This is a grid, these are gridlets. Can you put something down into any of these? Doesn't have to be in any particular order. It might have been thoughts that you had while you were doing the meditation, or it might have been something even more profound than that. You may have felt that you were definitely, in a sense, aware of being through the veil, and maybe you weren't alone. Maybe you were encountering. Maybe you were on the dance floor. Who knows where you were? But you know. And so what I had found, one of the gifts that I'd like to give is, I believe that the grid gives us the ability, the structure, to be able to say, hey, you can have that now, in a second, wherever you are, on the bus, in a meeting, whatever it is. And the grid has helped me to bring order to that, to not forget to turn in again, to turn in, because I am a bit, as you may have already noticed, you're going to have to shut me up, guys, because I could just keep rolling. The ADHD tendencies mixed with dyslexia and whatever else. I'm just multi-layered.
Ben, carry on.
And so what the difficulty with that is that life happens as well, and it's just really working out, what do I decipher? How do I keep a straight line when I need to keep a straight line in life? How do I get from A to B? How do I be productive? You know, one of the things that I haven't got time to share about today, but one of the grid uses for creatives, I've helped lots of creators get into business, because business and creativity, I know that myself. They are different areas of the head, brain, aren't they? And I think because emotion is very important to us, emotion drives our intelligence and draws from our experience and our intuition. It's not necessarily something we were taught. Our creativity was there to be drawn from within. And so because of that difference, I think getting into business or being organized, anybody struggle with timekeeping because they're very creative, you know, those sorts of things have really made a difference when I've started to see the big picture, not just every now and again, but be aware of the big picture. And I want to encourage those of you out there who've been told, you're doing too many things, just focus on one thing and do that well. For me, that just didn't work. And I understand why people gave that advice, because maybe they didn't have an alternative, but we do have a grid for that. And the reality is, we do now have the ability to see the big picture, maintain an overview. And yeah, we can start juggling. We can start having 2 or 3 projects on the go. We can get a feel for what's important right now. As Maddie, my wife, says to me a lot, she says, has it got joy on it? You know, that's one of my measures, learning to be one of my measures. I haven't always done that particularly well, but we're all learning. And so it's about actually, I believe, using the grid as a mirror in life, and actually just being able to stop and think, well, what would I have missed if I didn't put it down? How many thoughts do you have? Not just those genius moments in that moment when you wake, but how many thoughts do you have? How many downloads? How many revelation possibilities, just glimpses?
Yeah.
That we're not actually putting down. You know, when you were talking, Janine, about this community, that really struck with me. And I just turned into the Lord and just said, right, you know, standing shoulder to shoulder with him. And I just felt him say 2 things. One thing was, I saw this beautiful sailboat. And, you know, I think a lot of us would agree, you know, when you look at a painting, quite often you focus in on the sailboat. I don't know whether it's because you just think, oh, I'd like to be on that sailboat in the freedom. But there's there's something very beautiful about the sailboat. But what I felt the Lord saying to me was that's it's also very functional. And so I think he's actually going to bring, I hope this is a prophetic statement because I'm excited about it, a functionality to being creative, a functionality in society, when you know, artists have always been the prophetics, haven't they? We've been seeing ahead down the road, but I think it's actually being about potentially, you know, the sail is beautiful, but actually it has a very important function. And so I think that's just maybe a message for just even one person there, that it's okay for your creative flow work to be functional too.
Someone actually gave me a picture of a sailboat in Joyfest USA. So I got given lots of art, and I literally couldn't bring it all back. But the one piece I did feel to bring back was a picture of a sailboat. I think I can't remember the lady drew it. But for me, sailboats represent like being blown by the wind. You know, it says like those who walk in, those who live by the Spirit, go with the winds. And I think that's the life that we have in Christ, isn't it? It was going with the wind and the direction and his energy. Actually, that's the other thing that I feel like the wind always represents, is that it's his energy that's moving us. It's not our power, not our spirit, but it's the spirit of the sovereign Lord that is kind of like moving it. So for me, sailboats are really prophetic, and I do think that like you say, there's something so deep which will probably spark. That's how that sparked it for me, but you know, it'll spark everyone else perhaps in other ways. So that was really cool. How many of these are we meant to fill in? The whole thing?
Well, if you've got an extra piece of paper that, you know, they should never stop, really. You know, for some people, this is you know, just an everyday of life activity. I've used this in university settings, particularly helping students just get it together. PhD students often say they get stuck. They know they got it all there, but they don't know how to get it out, and the grid really helps them just to get it out. So there's been lots of gridding. So in fact, I encourage people to, if you think that you are, you know, go back to those times when you were a child saying, are we nearly there yet? You know, are we finished? Well, don't finish your grid, just move on to a new one before you know, so don't ever finish it, just fold a new one. That's what I do normally. I mean, I've actually filled it in here because I've been downloading while we've been listening, but normally I will fold a new grid when I've got two spare, because it's just psychological. But so it depends. But you know, for some people, a picture can speak 1,000 words. I spoke to a Jewish person somewhere. I think I was in Israel, and they said, no, not 1,000, 1,000,000. So you know, they said, no, that phrase is 1,000,000. A picture can speak 1,000,000 words. Well, anyway, I would say, what's your gridlet worth? And sometimes that's how, you know, when I'm helping kids learn to write, that's how they find their sentences, by, you know, what's that picture worth? How long could you talk about that? So value and relevance, I think, are really important for us as creatives to find a confidence with, because I think a lot of the time we don't share until we're sure. Or so what I encourage you to do with the grid is to not know what you should put down there. In fact, I do a gridding activity where I get individuals to start drawing before you've even seen what you should draw there, and watch what happens. You know, and if you actually give that into the Lord, into that space, watch what your hand does. That's really exciting. So there's this surrendering that I love, that I can do by using the grid. And one of the things that I wanted to say, the being aware of all our senses at once, if anybody can relate to that, is quite tiring, can be quite overwhelming, and can sometimes mean that we can't do certain, or feel that we're not particularly suited for certain roles. And or certain activities in life. And sometimes we struggle to see those things as benefits. I think that's what I'm trying to say. Even dyslexia, I've recognized as the diagnosis of dyslexia. When you look at what it diagnoses, actually those things have been really useful to me. Being very overly observant. I make long range connections. I've been working with Professor John Stein of Oxford University on reading dyslexic readers. Dyslexic readers find it very difficult to focus on the single letters or even the words, but they're very good at looking at the shapes of the whole word, and logically, or in a sense neurologically, what the brain's doing for a dyslexic, for example, is they're constantly used to making long range connections. Why? Because they have learned that our eyes are shimmering very slightly, and when our eyes shimmer very slightly, apparently dyslexic readers, we take in more breadth of view every millisecond. And that can be really difficult for reading. That's why some of us jump lines, or why we get to the bottom of the page and we haven't actually been reading it. We're just somewhere else, I'm not sure. But there are reasons, and actually you can look at it as a disability, or you can actually lean into. And I think that's what I want to encourage folk to do, is just to stop and think, just double check that society hasn't said to you something that's not normal, so we need to correct it, rather than actually just saying, hey, we really do need to celebrate uniqueness, and actually really press into that. And so one of the things that I really encourage us to do more and more is to look at in the spirit. How does that work in the spirit? Well, I actually heard I've had a hunch for a long time about this. And then I think it was Nancy Cohen or somebody recently on a teaching somewhere said that she was talking about dyslexia, and she said, that every millisecond we're not here, we're there. Well, I've always sensed that there are certain kinds of thinkers, and I think the creators are often on that spectrum, who are there just that little bit longer. And I think that explains why I've got short-term memory, why I find it difficult to focus. I've got a good long-term memory, but sometimes I can't keep track of the lesson, or I can't keep track of what did somebody just say, my audio memory. Anybody not particularly good at remembering names? Somebody tells you their name and it's, whoa, hang on a second. What the heck? So, actually, is there something going on here that is to lean into? And I believe it is. So I believe for us creatives and anybody, because we're all evangelizing that, it's really important to be creative. But actually stepping in, the practice of stepping in is becoming aware of that gap. That's why you're not aware of what's going on here, because there is a sensitivity to you being there, to you being present there. And if that's the case, then let's get our imagination connecting with that, and the truth and the health and the wealth and all of those things that go with being there is really, really important. And we need to get through that gap more and more. And maybe we need to lead the way. And maybe that's the sail and the function bit. Maybe that's me just reading into that. So if we're easily distracted, and you're maybe somebody's out there in our group today thinking, actually, I just don't get to it. I'm really good at starting things, but I'm not very good at finishing things. I have a great idea, but it just doesn't actually happen. And I'd really love it to happen. There's been so many brilliant ideas that I had, they just didn't happen. Well, maybe we need heaven's help. Maybe it's that gap that we need to not try and overcome, but actually press into. So I have a distraction grid. One of the 33 grids that I teach the use of is a distraction grid. And I encourage children to become aware of what it is that distracts them and become managers of being distracted and actually use it rather than allow it to affect you. So instead of saying, hey, stop being distracted, no, be aware of what it is. So it's about, I think that's what I've wanted to be sharing about, is that actually this uniqueness of that goes with being creative is something that we can really offer to the Lord and partner with. And I think we are going to need to lead the way on that, because it is a little bit out there. And it's difficult to, well, it's difficult to put into words, isn't it? Hence why I encourage individuals to put things down on their grid without necessarily being able to explain it. And I really encourage you to start doing that. If you like the idea of this, just see what happens when you start seeing the connections between things. I think you might be amazed. I know I've been amazed. Just that tiny little nugget of an idea that makes sense because you can see it on the big picture. I believe a lot of us haven't been able to join up the dots, feel organized, because we're not walking with that big picture view, that heavenly view. And actually, I think that's what Father's given me, this download for this, to bring, in a sense, into various forms of areas of society, to community, and say, this is a really important thing, and it's beyond logic. That's the whole point. This testing system has just shut those filters down. Remember the rabbit? I had to train to be able to listen to the rabbit again. So these are things that aren't easy to do. We've got subconscious going on, haven't we? And so what's really important, and we're having to learn to be conscious and listen and not just do what we did yesterday and not just repeat, but actually be a brand new creation today.
Yeah.
I know that I wake up with that excitement for life, and I know it's because I've been given the permission to, today is new, and I am new. I am new creation every single day. I am renewed, and everything is possible, which is just really, really exciting. If only I'd known that through school, I wouldn't have got so worried about trying to pass those exams. So I think what I really encourage folk to think about is, how could you take this into community? What if something like the grid gave us the ability to say, hey, I can come to a meeting prepared a bit more than normal. I can go away from a meeting a bit more prepared. Nothing's written in stone. Nothing actually makes sentence sense yet, but it's a map of what was going on in my thinking. And maybe I need to share some of this with team. And that's certainly been my experience. So those of you creatives out there who feel alone, and I know what that feels like, maybe gridding a reason for having a meeting with somebody you know might actually just say, hey, yeah, let's bring that forward. Let's bring that date forward. We have got something to talk about. We have got something to partner on and collaborate. And I think that would be something that we just got to trust that process. I remember when I was working around children in hospitals, and I can't read my own handwriting, so there's no point in me making notes of what illness this kid has and whatever else, and what the other doctors were saying they'd been prescribed and things. I just started doodling my grids, and we got to the end of the meeting around the child, and all the doctors came up to me and they said, can I photocopy that before I go, because that's making a heck of a lot more sense than my notes made. And I said, well, yes, this time, but do your own next time. And so there was something about the sharing. And then I was working with young offenders and working with the police with young offenders, and realized that the grid gave us the ability to be on the same level. So I used gridding to have a conversation that wasn't patronizing or wasn't out of somebody, actually, he doesn't want to admit to you, but he's 15 and he can't read and write. But he can grid with you today. Have you noticed that he is actually quite vocal and he's got something to say? So I think I've just been, I'm sure I've gone on too long here, but I think the message that I feel Father wants to bring is that being creative, be creative outside of right and wrong, be pushing those edges. And I loved finding out about the word Selah in the Psalms, and because I think that's what happens on the grid. Each of these little gaps here are my Selahs. They're the gaps in between things going on. What's the definition of Selah? It's pause and think, isn't it, or something like that?
Yeah, just to pause, isn't it?
Yeah. So be aware of the gap. Don't necessarily join things up. Allow things to be flexible, and just see where that actually it builds up a picture of something that gives you the ability to go forward with it. I was working with some CEOs once, and they said, well, what can you do for us? And I said, well, I just don't want you to do any writing. I want you just to draw. And they said, well, how's that going to help us solve our financial situations? And the reality was, after an hour of doing gridding, they realized that they'd been looking to their accountant solution way too much, when actually they just needed to see the big picture in emotional terms. So if nothing, see what happens, whether the grid enables you to be more aware of you, what your emotions are, what your feelings are, and really importantly, what your infinite self, your spirit person is saying to you, and see if you can get some downloads from the seated you, the aware you in heavenly places, and just see where that rolls. Maybe the last thing to say, I don't know, we all got to stop here, I'm sure.
We're enjoying it. It's good.
The carousel. Some of you may not be old enough, but when we used to watch on the slide projector, and you go, oh, can you show us the one of it? And they'd have to go click, click, click to get around to the right photo on the big screen. Well, I think a lot of us think like that. And I think the grid helps us to get some of the ones that actually aren't the ones. They're not the things we should be focusing on right now, but we know that we need to focus. Somehow we need to address that we saw that and then move it out of the way. What's the one coming behind that? What's the one coming behind that? And sometimes it's the fourth or the fifth image that comes up behind in my imagination that's the one that I need to act on. And maybe it's the one that is revelation as well. So I encourage individuals also to use the grid in a way of, in a sense, not discarding, but if something's on your mind, get it down, because it might actually just shift it along a bit. Lots of teenagers phone me up or tell me that they find it really helpful before they go to bed. They just dump onto their grids, and they find that some good, because I also say, hey, 70% has to be positive. You can have that 30%, but it's got to be positive. Why does it need to be anything other than positive? Let's keep it a positive grid. And actually they found, even if they started off with, well, I'm going to ration myself, I'm going to use one of my rations, not so good thoughts, but actually what happens is they just got them out of the way. And as you can tell, I think aloud. Anybody out there that thinks aloud? Well, have a go at gridding aloud. See if sometimes you don't need to go and have that conversation with somebody. or you don't even need to wait until you're in that place where you can soundboard with somebody. Maybe you can just soundboard with your grid. Just have a gridding session with the Lord. Just have the encounter, be excited, and just say, hey. And so many times when I was sitting down with the young offenders who seriously didn't want to do the gridding activity, I just fold a grid and I'd say, I don't know what I'm going to do with this, Lord, and I don't know how it's going to work. But it did. It always worked. There was always something that needed to go down on that grid. So I would encourage you, even if you don't know what to do with it, and if you're sat there feeling low, feeling unsure, feeling whatever it is, maybe just fold the grid by faith, just literally before Father, say, I am folding this grid and I'm waiting for some answers here, some solutions, and it may not come straight away, and it may be something that I have to accumulate over time.
So cool.
So there you go. That's just it's just a little bit of what I think I've discovered in the 30 years of doing it. And the other thing I've discovered is the community that's happened as a result. There's a real kindredness that happens. When you meet a gridder, it's just really, really nice. And we want to share, we want to show, oh, can I tell you about my grid and what have you? So it's a really good way of bringing community together. In fact, there's a reconciliation grid. So if you've got, anybody that you want to kind of bring together, it's a good one for doing that. So signing off, I would just say that I've tried to narrow it down to 33 grid uses. So there are 33 uses for the folded grid. And they're on a website. I think Rob's got the address. And you'd be welcome to, it goes via the Revelate, which I made for this community, or connecting with this community if you wanted to. But over and beyond that, there's a link within that links to the other grids. And you might just read through the grids and think, yeah, that's enough, I can get going with that. Or you may actually say, hey, yeah, no, I'd like to do some community. And what shape would that look like? And back to you. If I can bring more of this in any way to community, I would be delighted to do that.
So awesome. Elizabeth, did you have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted, so many creatives, distraction is just a huge, huge part of our lives, because there's so many ideas, we're creating constantly, right? And some of us creating in more than one medium and all of these things. And so there can be an overwhelm, and a lot of creatives that I talk to, this is a very common thing, lots of overwhelm that leads to shutdown. So when you mentioned the distraction grid, that piqued my interest, and I kind of felt a frequency here with multiple people here. We want to hear maybe a little bit more. Could you give us something on that we could take that and begin to start using that?
Great. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So you'd need another piece of paper. If you haven't got one, just write the instructions down. But basically, the distraction grid needs to fold one more time.
Okay. So 5 times.
So you're folding it 5 times. And the reason for that is because we're capturing distractions that we don't yet know the validity of them. They might actually be a positive distraction. We don't know that yet, but we might be distracted a lot, so there's more space for them. But I say, and I guess this comes from being in school, because I've had to prove that I'm not going to bring a distraction grid that's going to become a distraction in class. And so there's a 10-second rule. And if you can apply that to yourself, then great. You literally have 10 seconds to put that distraction down onto your distraction grid, your grid just lives wherever you are, under your book, under your laptop, wherever it is, and back to normal. But clock it And it doesn't matter how many times it happens, how many times the same thought happens, and become aware of what it is. You know, when I'm talking to kids, it's amazing how many of them are distracted because they came to school without food in their tummy. You know, actually, that's a message. And oh, great, we can go. We hadn't realized. Wow, you're hungry. So I know that's a really obvious one, but it might be that when you're looking at your distraction grid, you'll say, whoa, I'm distracted by a certain commodity, a certain thing. It might be sound. It might be a certain thing that makes me anxious. Maybe it's something that I can bring for inner healing. You know, so it can.
Right.
I find the distraction grid's a really useful one for flagging things up, really. And then you use the other grids, some of the other grids, to partner with that. And then say, right, how are we going to deal with that? How are we going to outwork that? And for some, it's a case of saying, hey, I've caught you now 5 times today, distraction, and that's it. That's it now. And, you know, I'm going to archive you. I'm going to hold on to these. I suggest people hold on to their grids rather than chucking them away, because they're quite useful time capsules just to be able to say, hey, look where you've come from sometimes. But just see whether that helps you to recognize change, that you are moving, that things are progressing. So that's basically it. Pretty simple. 10-second rule, and then carry on with what you're doing, basically. And then schedule some time to actually just take some time to think, well, what did distract me, and what can I do about that? You know, what's my issue? Maybe it's a conversation somewhere else, or maybe it's a confidence thing. I think for a lot of people, it's it flags up a specific area of confidence or lack of it. And I believe that by gridding in the face of Father, before the face of Father, I think you will find a confidence. You'll find your grids talking to you. You'll just start, these things will start coming at you, and you'll start saying, my goodness, whoa, I hadn't seen that. Now, oh, I get it. And being able to say, okay, now I can take this. I can go and do it right now. So a lot of people have found they've been able to bring the future into the now as a result of using the grids. So don't be surprised if something that you saw way off. There's a hopes and dreams grid. I encourage folks just to put hopes and dreams down there and put an idea of roughly when you thought it might be, you know, realistically, when could you see that happening? Be pleasantly surprised when you find that, but as a result of doing the hopes and dreams grid, you find that the future's coming closer than you thought it could possibly happen in a short space of time.
Very cool. Wow. And that was so awesome.
Amazing.
Very good.
And I think it's so cool to hear all the stories as well of you going into schools and doing this and working with offenders and seeing, you know, how this tool can be used in so many different ways in business settings. You know, like Elizabeth was saying on the distraction. You know, I know that a lot of people were relating in the comments about the dyslexia.
Right.
Then, you know, I've never been diagnosed with dyslexia, but it's anyone who ever gets an email or text from me will probably know that I am.
So creative writing.
Creative writing. I definitely miss out words. That's a big thing, and I can't see that they're not there. And I really relate to that part of what you said, because when I was young, I always had this sense that I was somewhere else, you know. And I think as I kind of grew in my relationship with Jesus and the Holy Spirit, and I was kind of aware of being in Him. It used to feel like that, but you know, so I really resonated with what you said then.
Amen.
And I think, you know, I love the fact that God has made us. This is what He showed me about that, because I did, you know, in the beginning I used to feel a little bit inferior. I can't do this or I couldn't do that because, you know, it would, you know, maybe if I write an email, it's not going to make sense. Or, you know, the amount of Facebook posts I post and then have to delete, even though I've read them 5 times.
Oh, I get it. Oh,
you know, these
man.
things people don't always realize. That one of the things that I like God spoke to me about was that there's nothing that he can't transform within me. Like that I'm going through a process of transformation. It's just that the things within me that I'm meant to do, I've got other gifts and anointings and callings and things that come easier to me that actually help me run and do all the things that he needs me to do first. And these other things, they will come. And I will be transformed. Like they're not necessarily blockers, but they're, like you said, they're just a different way of kind of being sometimes. And even with reading, you know, for me, reading a book is so difficult because I do get very easily distracted. But I know I felt that future version of myself. In fact, I was engaging it this morning.
Oh man, wonderful.
That reads lots of books and doesn't have that pushback in the whatever that is. And I think that there are lots of full versions of us. You know, there are full. You know, I was listening to a testimony about this creative, and they used to do this practice in meditation where they would see different versions of themselves. So they see a musician version. So they would be in a meditation, they'd sense the rhythm of the music, then they would go and they would just be able to reproduce it.
They came back.
With no musical skill or knowledge of what the music is. And even with the art, they saw themselves seeing beauty in a different way, and they let the future version of themselves mentor them. It was really bonkers.
It's through the gap. It's through the gap. I'm sure it is a gap. Quantum
and I think, and that is related, I think, to the quantum side of things, you know, that Rob was kind of touching on. So, and I think the message here for everyone to take away is, you know, that just have a go at these things. You know, if it's not for you, that's okay. But I think it's good to keep on trying different things, because I think they open stuff up. And I loved, I mean, when I wrote on my grid, I wrote the sense of what I was feeling in that encounter. And I wrote loads of words, which I perhaps wouldn't have, I just enjoyed it, but I wouldn't have put the communication aspect of it. You know, I wouldn't have tagged all these words, and it becomes something else when you kind of do that. So
it does. Yeah, that's really exciting. I think that's the thing. It's capturing something that would pass you by because there wasn't a place for it before, because it's random enough to do that. The grid is random enough a space to be able to do that. I just wanted to say, to encourage folk as well, because one of the other thing is the qualifying thing that happens for creative people when we're alongside other kinds of thinkers or achievers or whatever you want to call it. They might have an MA, or they might have a whatever it is. They may have some kind of accolade that's been given to them, or some kind of benchmark that they've been able to get to be able to say, yes, you've arrived here and now you can keep going. Well, in the world of creativity, it's really hard, and you're on your own, a lot of you as well. And I just really want to encourage folk that there's quite a lot of pressure these days to qualify, you know, and I've met so many people who say, oh, I'm wondering whether I should do a degree. I'm wondering whether I should do an MA to formalize that I'm a designer, formalize that I'm a creative thinker, and so that I can, in a sense, be world-facing with it in some way, so that I can get a shape for it, and actually that be my identity, my you know, my blueprint, my career, whatever you want to call it. And I would just encourage you to obviously, for some people that's the right right thing to do. But I think for a lot of people, it's about finding a new, unique way is far more exciting. When I was offered an MA, I said, I don't want to do the MA, please don't, because they said when I was teaching, they said, actually, you shouldn't be teaching those people. You're not qualified to teach them. Please get an MA. And I said, no, I don't want to do it. I don't want to spend that time focusing on something that's actually going to formalize me when actually I've spent this long in my life having to work out for myself because I didn't get the right answer in education. So for me to now be accredited and I've found so many creative people who have actually been reduced by the qualification rather than built up by. So I believe this movement that you've started here, this community, big stuff going on here, and it's about finding that union, isn't it? And finding out how we can actually move it, shift it in the spirit as well as physically in the outworking of the sailboat, the beautiful and the functional.
Amazing. I just read this scripture because I've been in this scripture actually all week, and we had our Ascension Sunday, and I started singing it as well. But I just feel it's just fits so well with what you said. It's in Ephesians. It's Ephesians 4:24, and it's this is from the Passion Translation, and it says "and," which I think the "and" is like the gap. You know, Justin used that in his preach. He was saying, you know, we think it's one or the other, but you know, but it's actually the "and." Sometimes it's that and that. You know, we're not this or that. Perhaps we're both things. We're the "and," and it starts with that, and it says, "And to be transformed as you embrace the glorious Christ within as your new life and live in union with him. For God has recreated you all over again in his perfect righteousness, and you now belong to him in the realm of true holiness." And I think that's the thing. He's transforming us. He's recreating us. And we live by every word that proceeds out of his mouth. That's the revelation that we live with, that glorious Christ within, and it's such a beautiful thing. So thank you so much, Ben. That's so awesome.
Well, thank you.
Do any of my fellow co-hosts want to chip in before we say goodbye and let everyone go? It feels like it's so the next one's not till November, guys.
What date in November?
Oh, it's
you've got it somewhere, haven't you?
Wrote it down. Yes, it's
Got it? You got it?
I got too many bits of paper now. I will find. Oh yeah, the
19th.
Yeah, the 19th.
Here we go, guys. 19th. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. We're all going to be busy now, Ben.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'm never bored of seeing a grid. If anybody wants to share a grid, I'm all eyes. Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Gridders together.
Grid it together.
Yeah,
awesome.
We can do some in the group as well, in our Facebook group. Feel free to stream grids. That would be fun.
Definite. Yeah.
Started something.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Great.
Sweet.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Okay, do you want to finish us off, Elizabeth? Who has missed Elizabeth? Let's just do that again, because I have. For your amazing meditation and breath work. You know, you can connect with Elizabeth on Patreon.
Yeah.
And also Tanya, you do some awesome stuff. Well, we're all on Patreon, but I'm just saying
Elizabeth,
that
you've got something coming up, haven't you, to do with the breath? Is it breath work or wellness?
I do.
Or
Yes. Yeah. I've got in October, which is open to everyone. The registration is on my website. I can drop it in the creative space group as well. So it's an entire 3-hour online intensive on breath work, the scripture, the science, the truth of it. And we're going to do a bunch of different kinds of breath work for different things. So if you're into it, I do breath work on my Patreon now on a regular basis since I've spent the year getting certified as a breath worker. And so it is a game changer. It will shift your life. And so we're going to talk all about it. I think it's October 5th. So definitely sign up for that. And would love to see you there. And if you other rocket ships, I like it. Yeah, it is it's amazing. So yeah, I've got that coming up. And thank you for that. I missed you guys so much. Very, very happy to be back, and just as always honored to be here with Janine and Rachel and Rob and Tanya and all of you. And I have said this to them personally, but their hearts in holding the space for me in a time where I had to, concentrate on some other things has just been incredible and wholehearted. And so I love you. I'm so grateful, and just you guys are amazing. So great to be back. So yes, check us all out. We're all on Patreon, and it really does help us to do what we do. Your support and the communities that are being built in those Patreons are extremely valuable. I know that firsthand in my Patreon community, and it's just a beautiful thing. So check us out. And so we'll close out today, and just
I can say we have got as well Joy Fest South Africa happening. So if there's any South Africans, we'd love to see you there at the Wells of Mem church in Johannesburg. And also, if you can't be there, you should live stream for sure, because it's going to be
it's going to be live streamed.
So if you can't be there in person, make sure you live stream and join the party, because it's going to be wonderful. We haven't not taken Rob this time, unfortunately, but he can't always travel. But we're going to be having Joe Martin with us, and I think Justin's going to be speaking, and we've got Greg
Ordway from Missouri.
From Missouri, and obviously Charles. Those guys are just such fun, such brilliant hosts, and it's going to be so brilliant. So just let you know, if you want to connect in person, that's the next country we're at. Yeah, go for it, Elizabeth.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Ben. It was just brilliant, and such good tools for us as creatives to move forward, and just as human beings, right, in every aspect. So I just honor you for the work that you've done. Your faithfulness to steward this is very clear, and so thank you for bringing it to us, for giving so freely of yourself and your heart, and it's going to help a lot of people. So we appreciate that. And I think let's just really I love to close out anything just with a heart of gratitude, right? Gratitude, just as we began with the expanse of our hearts, and looking at the expanse of our hearts, and perhaps connecting with more expanse than we are aware of, becoming more aware of the expanse, that now as we close out, that we just bring in as much gratitude as you can possibly handle into your heart as we go from this place. We're so grateful for the heart of the Lord towards us, for the expanse of eternity, for the expanse of all of heaven, and the beauty and the tools that have been provided for us today. We are full of gratitude. And we leave from this place as grateful people, and we walk from this place in a place of the high frequency of gratitude, and we purpose to live there always in gratitude and joy forever.
Wow.
We thank you guys for being here, and we will see you in November. If we don't see you somewhere along the way where any of us are, South Africa, Missouri, wherever we're going, you can catch up with all of that on various websites. So, all right, we love you guys. Again, great to be back, and we will see you next time.
See you next time.
Yeah. Thank
Right.
you.
The Facebook group, guys. Love you.
Bye, everybody. Shalom, shalom.
Oh,
Yay.
Oh, look.
I see that we already have
What's going on?
Yay. I know. Sometimes we can make hearts come out, but mine doesn't.
Mine doesn't do it.
I know. I think mine got turned off
Not me.
somehow.
Blessings, blessings, blessings.